Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny is the fifth and hopefully final installment for the Indiana Jones franchise. I gotta tell you, I went into this thinking that this was gonna be horrible. I thought this was gonna be worse than the Crystal Skull, which this is worse than the Crystal Skull, but even that movie is alright. So, this movie isn't like bad, but it's not like good either. This is I don't want to say forgettable because some of the stuff some of the stuff in this movie really makes me question what the hell I just watched. But I don't know what to say. Wow. Okay, let's get into a plot synopsis here, I guess, to explain everything. Basically, this movie starts off with Indiana Jones basically de-age to where he's back to his classic fun adventures. And I gotta tell you, that was some of the best Indiana Jones I've ever seen. It was amazing seeing him back in the 40s fighting Nazis and all that stuff. The only problem is that it felt just a little bit unrealistic. I'm not talking about the de-aging, that was fine at all. But I'm talking about like him avoiding and getting out of all the traps and all that stuff. In the originals, it felt real because it was real. It was all practical. But in the opening 20 minutes and throughout the whole movie, especially the first 20 minutes though, I could feel that it was like just a little bit. I don't want to say cartoonish, but it was a little bit. Like how is Indy like getting out of some of these? You know what I mean? It's like at some point I think he should be dead, but whatever. Basically, after the 20 minutes is up, we cut to Indy back in 1969. And my problem with this time period, it's not with Indy being old. That's like, Harrison Ford is whatever, he's old. That's what we're going for. But this is set during a very pivotal time in American history that I think could have worked for Indy's benefit, because this takes place, it's like right after the moon landing, which is during that American time period to where Americans and America in general tried to look to the forward and didn't really care about the past, which could have showed how Indy was being pushed to the side to make way for new technology and new innovations in the world, which is how we see in this movie. But we don't really expand upon it. All we really see is just how nobody cares about him in class and how he's retiring and stuff like that. And we don't really build on this topic. This whole movie in general are having these good themes and good, developments to work on, but they don't advance on it. They don't like build upon like these actual good things. Instead, this movie just feels like a video game to where it's just action set piece after action set piece, but whatever. Basically, Indy is like just, like this old guy who hates life and he's just depressed. And the reason being, I'm just doing spoilers, man. Full spoilers, full on out. I don't really care. Turns out that Mutt Williams, his son, he died. He's dead. And I understand if you don't want to bring the actor back, that's whatever. But like, why just kill him off? Why just write him off as in like he's dead, he's never coming back? And this along too causes him and Miriam to divorce, and I'm like, what the hell? I mean, like, Indiana Jones 4, while not being the greatest movie of all time, at least had a great send-off to a beloved character. He had his happy ending. He reconciled with his son, and he got married. And the fact that this movie, in the first opening minutes, just ruins that is just, it doesn't make sense to me. But whatever. Basically, later on, Indy meets his goddaughter, being Helena. She is the daughter of one of the Indy's old lifetime friends that we see in the beginning of the movie. And she's trying to find the Dial of Archimedes, basically something that can rewrite the course of history. And the thing is, she's not the only one trying to get it. There's this, the Nazi guy from the first part of the movie, and he is basically an American now due to Operation Paperclip, which was a real thing in America, where we had Nazi scientists basically help us go to space and all that. And he's after the dial for, I'm going to explain later, but it's fucking stupid. It is actually stupid. But whatever. Basically, this guy and the CIA, they basically frame Indy for murder, and he's basically forced on going on this adventure to go get back the dial. And, just Oh my god. But okay, problems here. First off, him being framed for murder is never addressed again. Of course, Indy says, to Helena that he's only on this adventure just so he could clear his name. But at the end of the movie, it is never addressed if, his charges are dropped and if, the police aren't after him. So I'm supposed to just assume that after, everything in the movie, he's just alright. Because in the end of the movie, he's just back in his apartment. He's chilling. So, I don't know what I'm supposed to assume, but I guess everything worked out with that. But whatever. Okay, so basically, Indy then meets up with Sala, which was actually nice to see. It was cool to see him, and he also is like, I want to go on this adventure too. I want to, have the fun adventures we used to have. And I was like, that would be great, but no, we have to deal with Helena. And I just gotta say, she's not as bad as some people are saying, but she's not that good either. She has so many different personalities or story threads going on. It doesn't make sense. They didn't pick one sort of thing. She has all these different things going on, and I don't know what I'm supposed to root for. She goes she's on this I'm self-reliant, I'm independent, and I'm I'm better than you type of shit, and I'm okay. I mean, she somewhat grows as a character later on, because we could tell that she loved her father and loves the stuff that Indy does as well. She loves the adventure, the learning of history. She cares about the history. But I just feel with her character, they don't flesh her out enough to really give me a reason to care about her, because this movie really could have hinged on Indy and Helena being these two broken people who don't have others to connect with, but they could have connected these two as people, but they chose not to, and I just don't get it. But whatever. So Indy goes on the adventure and he meets up with Helena, and we in the movie we have basically knockoff Short Round. This guy is so forgettable, I don't even remember his name. And along with that, we have this decent chase scene, but it goes on for way too long. I mean, it feels practical. I could tell this was somewhat, they tried to make it feel as realistic as possible, and the way they shot it and the way they did it was, is pretty well made. We get to see Indy jumping on cart to cart. The action is, all right, but I feel if they just made it a little bit shorter, a little bit snappier, it could have worked, but it's just all right. And then with that, we have Indy and the gang. They just instantly just go to underwater to recover the second half of the dial. And the fact that it just speeds up rampantly, it's just so quick that you don't have time to process the story. Because when they go underwater, Indy meets his old friends, from his past or whatever that we don't know, and they instantly just die. They're all dead, and Helena is celebrating yes, we just escaped the bad guys, and Indy just in small passing just says that my friends are dead, and that's it. They just continue on with the adventure like nothing happened. Indy watched his best friend die, and it's we need to continue the story. This movie is so quick-paced that it doesn't take time to flesh out characters, and it just keeps going on and on. I really feel that they had something with a story like this, having a really aged Indy having to deal with his mortality or something like that could have been great. Having to show that how he lost so much time or how he wants to relive his glory days would have been awesome. But they don't delve on this. They just double down on action. But whatever. Alright, so end of the movie comes, and Matt Mikkelsen and the rest of the Nazis, they come, they steal the dial, and they shoot Indy. I don't know why they didn't leave him out to bleed to death. They literally grab him. They literally take time out of their day to literally drag him along to the plane. And this is where the worst part comes. They literally time travel. I don't have a problem with them time traveling, but it's their plan, which is so ridiculous that I love it. It's so funny, it's so creative. I don't think it's as bad as the Aliens, and being in mind you, I don't even think that Aliens is such a bad thing. I'm not too shy to say that. All right, they literally, the Nazis, their plan is to time travel back to 1939 to kill Hitler, to make sure the Nazis win. I I can't make this up. That's the worst part. I can't make this up. And it's like it works, you know, for like it works in my opinion. It's one of the real parts of the movie that made me, you know, think, wow, this is like getting interesting. But like I was still like in shock of like how did we get to this point? You know? So basically, you know, they time travel, but then Indy, you know, the only one that studies like history and science and all that stuff, goes like, hey, dickheads, do you guys remember Continental Drift? And then they goes like, and then and then they go like, oh shit, and then they wind up in like, you know, 2000 whatever BC, where they go to a Roman battle uh, arena, the Battle of Syracuse, I believe. And then like the Romans take down the the plane, and then Indy, basically bleeding out to death, says, no, I want to stay here, I want to die here. And I don't have a problem with him wanting to die there, because that's like Indy's thing. He loves history. He loves, you know, the history and like how everything was back in the day. That's why he studies it. That's why he tries to collect and preserve artifacts like that, because it is history. That's why it reminded me back in Raiders of the Lost Ark, whenever Belloc knew that Indy wasn't going to destroy the Ark of the Covenant because it was history. He wouldn't want to destroy something like that. He loves and wants to preserve that, and that's why I think him getting to experience that is amazing. The thing that bothers me though is that Helena literally like knocks him the fuck out and brings him back to the future, because she goes like, Indy, you mean so much to me, you're like a father to me, I need you. And it's like, if this was built up better, then I could like understand it, but like it just feels kind of forced. I feel like they just need to like a forced emotional moment that they just, I don't know. I feel like she didn't even need to punch him. I think they could have had like a well-meaning conversation to do this. He didn't need to have just shock value just for the sake of it. You know what I mean? And then, you know, they go back to the future. You know, back to 1969, and Indy wakes up, and it turns out that Helena called Miriam, and they get back together. Happy ending. This, you know, this isn't a bad movie. It's really not. I think people are blowing it out of proportion, but I just don't see a reason. I just don't see a reason why this needed to be made. You know, it's like, I don't understand why some franchises can't just be, you know, buried. Like, the reason why stories are great are because that the end, that they have a good ending. If they keep going on with franchises like this, then it becomes like, why are they even being made? It's like with Toy Story. It's like, why are you still making Toy Stories if you ended them off? Indy ended off at 3, and then 4, and now 5. It's like, at what point are you satisfied? At what point, Disney, is the money good? Is the money good enough for you? Is digging up a franchise like this worth it to you? I just don't understand. And it's like, I remember how great this franchise is and still is. The original 3 are some of the best that cinema has to offer. The fact that they went above and beyond. Temple of Doom literally was groundbreaking to the fact that we needed to have a PG-13 rating just because of movies like that. The fact that we had a series like this to go above and beyond to create the classic hero adventure that we know today. And now it's just a shell of its former self because of movies like this. This didn't ruin the franchise, but this really makes me just appreciate more so how things used to be and how this series used to be. You know? People might rag on Indiana Jones in the Kingdom of Crystal Skull, you know, for the monkeys and the fridge and all the other bullshit. But at least I could tell that Spielberg and Lucas had, you know, They had heart, they had love and care for this. And I know that Lucasfilm nowadays still has somewhat of a love, but they don't have the magic. And I just want magic to be brought back to movies, to indie. But right now, I don't see it happening. This isn't a horrible movie, but it's not good. I'm giving this movie like a 6 out of 10. It's good, but I know they could do better, and they shouldn't have even made this movie. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And remember, folks, it belongs in a museum.
I told you the crystal skull would lead us to the mint crisp M&Ms. Snakes. I hate snakes. Would you knock it off?